And that's it. It's now installing Linux. Okay, so that's all you need to do. I just took a bit of lots of talking getting through all of that, but if you're not explaining, or if you're just clicking and you know what to do, it takes less than 5 minutes. Okay, pretty much less than 5 minutes to get from the partitioning up to this point. Okay. So if you do the installation on your own, it should go much quicker than watching how long it took to watch this lecture. Okay. Probably, yeah, as I said, 5 minutes, and then the actual installation depending on how fast your machine is. Okay, if you've got a slow machine, the installation will be a bit slower. If you've got a very fast machine, the installation will go quicker. Alright, let's check, see if I can make this bigger. So it's now just pretty much, as I said, installing Ubuntu on a virtual machine hard drive. Okay, you can click on this little arrow here and you have some messages down here related to the installation. So you can click through this and see all the features. You can install Skype, Slack, Telegram, Spotify. You can pretty much do anything on Linux that you can do on Windows. And Ubuntu Linux and Linux Mint are not difficult operating systems to learn. A little bit more difficult than Windows, but still very user-friendly. But in my opinion, biased opinion, I like Linux a lot more than Windows. So, okay. It's telling me I'm connected to the network. Okay. Alright, so it's copying files. You can skip over to the end of this installation if you want to, if you don't want to wait through all of it. Or you can keep on listening to me. So once this installation has completed, then it will take you or ask you to reboot your virtual machine. I would advise you to install this on a virtual machine first, test it out. If you wanted to install it on your physical machine first and you're a beginner to this, first install it on a virtual machine, get used to it, and then you can get used to the installation, and then you can safely install it after that on your physical machine. Just remember what I said about the risks to your personal files and documents. You need to know what you're doing, just be careful. Okay. Or if you're installing it on a clean hard drive, nothing else, then that's fine, don't need to worry. But yeah, if you've got enough memory on your RAM on your PC, then there's no need to install it on, if it's just for learning purposes and checking Linux out and studying purposes, then you can install it on a virtual machine like this. You don't need to install it on a physical machine. You can install it on a virtual machine like this, and there you go. Boot into your Windows, open up your VirtualBox software, load your virtual machine for your Linux installation, and there you go. You've got in your Linux installation, Linux desktop. You can make the display full screen mode, and yes, then you can do whatever you want, whatever you're using the Linux for, whether it's for studying or just curiosity. but yeah, it will be slightly slower than having it installed on a physical hard drive because it's working through a virtual machine. So it's an extra couple of layers that it needs to go through. Okay. So I'm not sure how long this is still going to take to install. So as I said, you can skip to the end of this installation. But yeah, so it's at the end it will ask me to reboot the virtual machine, probably to take out the DVD first, the virtual DVD first. So what I will do is I will go to devices, go to optical drives, and then remove disk from virtual drive. Okay, you click on there, remove disk from virtual drive. So it's like removing the DVD from the DVD player, DVD disk. Okay, otherwise your virtual computer is just going to boot up and boot the DVD again. Okay, you don't want that because you've now installed Linux, Ubuntu Linux on the virtual hard drive. So if you boot without the DVD, it will boot from a hard drive, okay? Because Ubuntu is installed. So when it asks, when it's done, finished, and it wants to ready to restart, reboot, you just go first, optical drives, which is what a DVD player is, DVD drive is, and remove disk from virtual drive. Okay. So it's file 25 of 25. So it seems like it's scanning the mirror. Okay. It shouldn't be too long anymore. Seeing that it's also at the end of this screen, yeah. And you can get a lot of information from these links as well, just so that you know. If you found this course useful, I'm still going to go over the after the installation. We're still going to go into the desktop, boot up Linux, Ubuntu Linux, and go into the desktop, and I'll explain a few things to you, show you a few things as a bonus. It's not part of the installation, but I'll show it as a bonus for free. So if you're happy with the course, the way I did the course, and you think it was useful to you, then please give me a thumbs up, a good rating. It does help me grow my business on Udemy, so that I can make a lot more courses for people. Okay, it's creating the user now, configuring target system. Language backs I'm going to skip because I only need English. I don't need to use all that data as well as the so it's skipping it now, as well as the other languages. But for some of you guys who are first language not English, you don't need to skip it. I'm just skipping it because it will increase the installation will be faster. So now it's configuring the hardware, which means it is very close to the end of the installation. Oh yeah, and you don't need keys like you with Windows. When you install Windows, you need a window key and all that stuff. If you install new Windows, no, Linux is open source. It's free. You don't need any keys. You don't need to buy Linux. It's free. It's open source. Pretty much everything about Linux, all the applications inside it, is also free. Microsoft Office you have to pay for. Linux, I think it's Open Office. Let me just check quick. LibreOffice. It's the alternative to Microsoft Office. So that's like Word, that's Excel, this is PowerPoint. Okay, it's for free. It works just as well. Okay, Firefox comes pre-installed. You can also install Chrome. If you don't want to use Firefox, you can definitely install Chrome on Linux, just so that you know. I think you can also install Safari on Linux for the Mac users out there. Okay? And also for any Mac students, any students that use Mac operating system, MacBooks and stuff like that, you know that your operating system is based on Unix, and you know that Linux is based on Unix, hey? Yes. Okay, and yeah, don't worry, if you're thinking of changing from Windows to Linux, you can do everything in Linux that you did in Windows. Music, videos, Netflix, even gaming you can do in Linux. For gaming, Ubuntu Linux or Linux Mint is the best, okay? Okay, it's very close. It's now installing the grep. In other words, it's installing the boot part. So as you can see, LTS release every 2 years, okay, and a normal release every 6 months. Just extra side information. But LTS is also long-term support, which is good. Okay, so as I say, just skip to the end of this installation, okay? I'm not exactly... You can just check on the video or on Udemy. Fast forward or move the what do you call it, the button. See if you can find the end of the installation if you don't want to wait so long, sit through, okay? Then you can just skip to the end of the installation and see the rest of the setup in brief setup in Linux desktop. Okay, so now it's removing stuff that it used to install. If you install this on a physical machine, as I said earlier, it will be much quicker, much quicker. Okay, so finish. Come on, finish now. So I'm going to do one of my next courses that I'm going to create is Introduction to Linux. I will either use Ubuntu Linux or Linux Mint. It will probably be Ubuntu Linux because I think more people use Ubuntu. It's more popular than Linux Mint, although Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu. It's just a little bit newer. But it's a different desktop. It's a little bit lighter than Ubuntu in terms of system resources that it uses. So it uses a bit less memory and stuff like that. So it can perform a bit better on your computer, Linux Mint, than Ubuntu Linux. So, but you have all the benefits of Ubuntu in Linux Mint because Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu. So, I don't know. I'll probably create an introduction to Ubuntu Linux because that's the one that Linux Mint is based on as well. And introduction course on that. For anyone that wants to learn how to use the operating system, get comfortable with it, do the stuff that they do on Windows, on a Linux, Ubuntu Linux. I won't cover installation because I'm covering it here. But yeah, so for anyone that wants to learn Linux, Ubuntu Linux especially, for anyone that wants to learn Linux, Ubuntu Linux is probably the best start, okay? So yeah, for anyone that wants to learn Linux, the Ubuntu Linux course, introduction course, will be the one to take. Will be very, very useful. I highly recommend it. A lot of people, DevOps, system administrators, sysops, use Ubuntu Linux. So for them it's a must skill to have. Also a lot of AWS work is done on Ubuntu Linux. And most of the internet runs off Linux servers, if you didn't know that. You can take all the Windows machines in the whole world, Windows servers away, and the internet will still exist because it's mostly running on Linux servers, the internet, because it's so stable and secure. Oh yeah, and also you don't get viruses. You really don't get viruses for Linux. Because most people use Windows, most viruses are written for Windows, so you don't really get antivirus software for Linux because there's no viruses for Linux. So in that sense it's much more secure, but you still need to be careful when you use browsers like Chrome or Firefox, because it could potentially install stuff, cookies or other malware. It's highly unlikely on a Linux machine, but still just be careful. But yeah, a Linux machine is a lot more secure in terms of virus threats and stuff like that, but hackers can still hack into Linux machines almost just as easily as they can hack into Windows machines. So in that sense it's a bit more secure than Windows, but not that much. But viruses don't like Linux. Okay, so this is taking a bit longer than I expected. Hopefully it's going to finish soon. Usually after updating the bootloader it finishes quite quickly. It's probably because it's running through the virtual machine. I use Linux at home as well, so it's on my physical machine. It installs a lot faster than this. I use both Ubuntu Linux and Linux Mint. Okay, so hopefully this finishes. If I remember correctly, the DPKG is the package manager or package installer. One of those two. I think it's the package installer. Debian package installer. I think that's what it is. Okay. So yeah, please message me any questions that you have, either on Udemy via the student interface or via my Facebook group or page that I have the link on my profile on Udemy. You can message me from one of those two, ask me any questions, and I will respond to you. I'll do my best to help you. And you can look forward to some future Linux courses from me. I know a lot of you taking Linux courses are also interested in other related skills, so you're welcome to let me know if you're having trouble finding good quality courses on some of the skills that you want to learn. Can't find it on Udemy, just let me know. Maybe I will create a course on it, okay? Okay, so it's a very good decision to learn Linux and learn how to use Linux, especially if you're in IT or computer science student or programming student. It's to know Linux, how to use Linux is a very, very useful skill to have. Okay, so installation is complete at last. Restart now. It might ask me to remove, so I'm not going to remove it right now. I just want to check what it does. Remember to remove the DVD. It might ask me to remove it before it reboots. Let's just see what happens. But Linux is now installed. Ubuntu Linux is now installed on the virtual hard drive of this virtual machine, virtual computer. At this rate, this course is going to be slightly longer than a Linux Mint one because of how long it took to install. It took a bit longer to install than a Linux Mint installation. Okay, so it's just finishing off. Okay, I think it's just hanging for some reason. So if that happens with you, just go to Machine and click on Reset. Okay, Reset and Reset. It shouldn't affect the installation. Let's just double check. Okay, so I'm going to take out, I just want to see what it does. Okay, so I'm going to take out the optical drive now. Alright, because it's busy booting from the DVD. As I said, I wanted to do that before I rebooted, but it froze for some reason, so I had to reset it. And then that forces it to reboot. So now I'm going to reset it again, because now the optical drive is out and now it's just going to boot from the hard drive. Okay, so before you reboot after the installation, just go to optical drive and remove disk. Okay, and then you can reboot safely. Click on a restart. If the same happens to you what happened to me, in other words it froze at the end of installation before restarting, then you do the reset. Okay, but do the removal of the optical drive first and then you do the reset. Alright, so just to recap, at the end of the installation, when it says it can now restart, go to devices, optical drives, remove disk from virtual drive. Okay, do that first, then you can click on restart. If it freezes like it did for me, do this first, remove disk from virtual hard drive, the DVD installation disk, then you go to reset. Okay, and it will reboot and it will be fine. Okay, so hopefully the installation is okay. So SDA1 is where the root partition is, where the Linux installation is. So there we go. I was getting a bit worried there that the installation failed for some reason because it froze at the end, but it didn't, it was fine. Don't worry, it's nothing to do with Linux. Any funny things like that is because of the virtual machine, nothing to do with Linux. Linux is extremely stable and reliable.